My people, settle down, settle down. Yes, you with the phone. Put it on silent. This story I'm about to tell you, even Hollywood cannot write it. You think you've heard madness before? Wait until you hear about Chidera. Beautiful Chidera. The girl who chose a coffin over a marriage bed on the night she said, I do. And no, she wasn't running from her husband. No. She was running toward something. Something bigger than love, bigger than fear, bigger than the fine lace and Ankara that she wore that day. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from where the trouble began, because every great story starts with somebody making a terrible mistake. Now, before you judge her, before you call her mad or possessed, ask yourself this. What would you sacrifice to break a curse that has buried 3 generations of women in your family before they turn 30? You see, now you are interested. Now you want to know. Good. Because this story will teach you that sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is sleep where the dead rest so the living can finally breathe. But wait, if you are enjoying this already, do me a favor, share this video with that your stubborn friend who never believes anything until they see it. Tag them, send it to your family WhatsApp group. Let them come and learn something today. Now, let us begin properly. The year was 2023. Not the 1800s, not some ancient time of magic and moonlight. No, this happened in Lagos. Yes, Lagos. The same Lagos where girls wear waist beads under their corporate skirts and go to church on Sunday morning smelling of nightclub perfume. The Lagos where tradition and technology fight each other every day like 2 wives in a polygamous home. Chidera lived in Surulere with her mother, Mama Nkechi, in a 2-bedroom flat that smelled of incense, shea butter, and secrets. The kind of flat where the walls had ears and the mirrors were covered at night. You know that kind of house. The one where you instinctively whisper when you enter, even if you came to borrow salt. Chidera was 27 years old. Skin like cocoa butter melted under moonlight. Her hair, thick and full, always braided in styles that made men look twice and women ask, who made it for you? She worked at a bank on Victoria Island, one of those I just closed a deal guys who wore sneakers to meetings and called everyone bro. He drove a white Benz, not because he was showing off, but well, he was showing off. He met Chidera at a wedding, not hers obviously, someone else's. You know how Lagos weddings are. 500 people and 400 of them are just there for the jollof rice and small chops. Dubem saw her standing by the drinks table, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else, and he shot his shot with the confidence of a man who had never been told no. Excuse me, beautiful, are you the bride's friend or the groom's regret? Chidera looked at him like he had just asked her to calculate pi. But then she smiled. A small smile, the kind that says, you are stupid, but you are funny. And that was it. Dubem was hooked. He followed her around that wedding like a photographer's assistant, carrying her purse, fetching her drinks, making jokes that made her forget, for a moment, that her 28th birthday was 3 months away. They dated 1 year. Dubem was everything Chidera thought she could never have. Light, laughter, a future. He spoke about children, about buying land in Lekki, about growing old together while arguing over the TV remote. And Chidera wanted it. God, she wanted it badly. But every time he talked about forever, she heard a clock ticking in her chest. Tick, tick, tick. She never told him about the curse. How do you tell a man who believes in startups and stock investments that your family is haunted, that women in your bloodline dropped like flies swatted by an invisible hand? You don't. You smile, you nod, you plan a wedding and hope that love is stronger than blood. But Mama Nkechi knew better. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mama Nkechi called her daughter into the room that smelled like old Bibles and burning candles. She sat Chidera down on the bed and held her hands the way you hold something you're afraid will break. My daughter, she said, her voice shaking like a loose window in Harmattan wind. I have been quiet. I have watched you plan this wedding, buy this lace, choose this cake, but I cannot let you walk into that marriage without telling you the truth. Chidera's stomach turned. Mama, please. Listen. Mama Nkechi's voice cracked like a whip. Listen to me. Your grandmother died at 29. My sister, your Auntie Ngozi, died at 28. My own mother died at 30, on the dot, like someone set an alarm. And she touched her leg, the one that didn't work right. I should have died too. But I didn't because I did something you would think is madness. Chidera felt cold, the kind of cold that starts in your bones and crawls out through your skin. What did you do, Mama? Mama Nkechi looked away, her eyes wet. I slept in a coffin. The room went silent. Outside, Lagos was noisy. Honking downfalls, people shouting, gospel music blasting from a neighbor's speaker. But in that room, there was nothing. Just two women and a truth too heavy to carry. Chidera laughed, not because it was funny, but because what else do you do when your mother tells you she slept with the dead to survive? Mama, you're joking. Do I look like I am joking? She didn't. Mama Nkechi's face was stone. Her eyes were the eyes of someone who had seen things that should not be seen. There is a prophet, she continued, her voice low, urgent, in Badagry, an old man who knows the old ways. He told me that the curse could only be broken by one who is willing to face death and choose life. You must sleep in a coffin on the night of your greatest joy, your wedding night. If you survive until morning, the curse breaks. If you don't, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. Chidera stood up, shaking her head, backing away like her mother had just grown horns. Mama, I am getting married. I am not sleeping in any coffin. That is madness. That is survival, Mama Nkechi shouted, and the room seemed to shudder. You think I want this for you? You think my daughter wants to spend her wedding night in a box meant for corpses? But I want you alive, Chidera. I want you to see 30. I want you to bury me, not the other way around. Chidera ran out of the room. She ran out of the flat, down the stairs, into the Lagos night that swallowed her whole. She walked and walked, past the suya stands and the men playing drafts under yellow bulbs, past the churches where night vigil was starting and people were already speaking in tongues. And as she walked, she felt it, the tick, tick, tick. Her 28th birthday was in 9 days. Now, my people, pause with me for a second. Have you ever been in a place where both choices look like death? Where staying feels like dying, but leaving feels like betrayal? That's where Chidera was. And if this story is touching your heart already, don't be stingy. Hit that like button. Let me know you are following. Because what happens next? Even I was shocked when I heard it. Chidera did not tell Dubem. How could she? The man was busy sending her Pinterest boards of honeymoon destinations and arguing with his friends about whether they should serve fried rice or jollof rice at the reception. He was planning a life, she was planning a funeral. The wedding day came like every Lagos wedding comes, with chaos, drama, and someone's aunt complaining about the choice of Reby. The church was packed. Chidera wore a white dress that cost more than 3 months' rent, and she looked like an angel. Dubem cried when he saw her walking down the aisle. Actual tears. His friends teased him about it for weeks. The vows were said, the rings were exchanged, the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, and the congregation erupted like Nigeria had just won the World Cup. There was dancing, there was spraying of money, there was jollof rice so good people were fighting over it in the buffet line. But Chidera was not there. I mean, yes, she was physically there, smiling for pictures, hugging guests, cutting the cake, but her mind was in Badagry, with a prophet she had visited 3 days earlier. She had gone alone, telling Dubem she was going for a spa day with her bridesmaids. The prophet was an old man, the kind of whose age you cannot guess because he looked both ancient and ageless. He sat under a tree, wearing white, surrounded by cowries and chalk drawings that seemed to move when you weren't looking directly at them. You are the 4th generation, he said, before she even spoke. You carry the weight of mothers who were never allowed to grow old. Chidera knelt. She didn't know why, but her knees just gave. Can you help me?
The prophet smiled, but it was a sad smile, the kind that says, I can, but you won't like it. There is a price for breaking old curses, he said. You must face the fear that has killed your mothers. You must lie down in death's house and refuse to die. On your wedding night, you must sleep in a coffin, alone, no phone, no light, no sound, just you and the silence. If your faith is strong, if your spirit is stronger than the curse, you will wake up free. If not, he didn't say, but his eyes said everything. So now, picture this. It's 11 p.m. on Chidera's wedding night. The reception is over. Dubem is in the hotel room they booked, the one with the rose petals on the bed and champagne on ice. He's texting her, babe, where are you? People are asking, come, let's go. But Chidera is not heading to the hotel. She's in an Uber, still in her wedding dress, heading to a place in Ikorodu that Google Maps refuses to recognize. The driver keeps looking at her in the rear view mirror like she's a ghost. Madam, you sure say na here you dey go? This place no get light oh. Just drive, she whispers. She arrives at a building that looks abandoned, the kind of place you see in Nollywood movies right before the thunder strikes. There's a man waiting outside, tall, silent, wearing all black like he works for Death's HR. You are the bride, he says. It's not a question. Yes, follow me. He leads her inside, down a corridor that smells like earth and old wood, into a room lit by a single candle, and there in the center of the room is a coffin. Polished, dark, open. Chidera's legs almost give out. You have until 6 a.m., he says. Do not try to leave. Do not scream. Do not call for help. If you survive, you are free. If you don't, your husband will receive your body by morning. He walks out. The door closes. The candle flickers. And Chidera is alone. Now, if your heart is pounding, good, that means you are human. And if you've watched this far, please, I beg you, subscribe to this channel because stories like this don't come every day and I don't want you to miss the next one. Chidera stood there staring at the coffin like it was a snake about to strike. Her wedding dress felt heavy, suffocating. She wanted to run. She wanted to call Dubem, tell him everything, beg him to come get her. But then she thought of her grandmother, of Auntie Ngozi, of all the women whose lives were cut short by a curse they didn't choose. And she thought of the daughter she wanted to have one day, the daughter who would not have to do this. So she climbed in. The coffin was cold. It smelled like wood and something else, something ancient. She lay down, her dress bunched around her hands folded on her chest like a corpse. The lid was still open, but just a barely. She could see the ceiling, the flickering candle. And then the lid closed. Someone or something closed it. The darkness was absolute, the kind of darkness that has weight, that presses down on you like a heavy blanket of fear. Chidera could hear her heartbeat. It was the only sound. Thump, thump, thump. And then she heard another sound. Whispers, faint first, like wind through cracks, but then louder, closer. Voices that sounded like her grandmother, her aunt, her mother. Join us, Chidera. It's easier here. No pain, no fear, just rest. She wanted to scream, but she remembered what the man said. Do not scream. So instead, she prayed. She prayed every prayer she ever learned. The Lord's Prayer, the prayer of Jabez, even the one her mother taught her in Igbo that she didn't fully understand. Chineke, Biko, Zoputami, God, please, save me. The whispers grew louder. The coffin seemed to shrink. She felt hands, cold, thin hands, touching her arms, her face. But Chidera did not open her eyes. She did not scream. She just kept praying. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no meaning in that box. And then light. Thin, golden, creeping through the cracks of the coffin. Morning light. The lid opened. The man in black stood over her expressionless. It is 6 a.m. Chidera sat up, gasping, shaking, alive. She had survived. She returned to the hotel at 7 a.m., still in her wedding dress, smelling like earth and courage. Dubem nearly fainted when he saw her. He thought she'd been kidnapped or worse. But when she told him the truth, all of it, he didn't laugh. He didn't call her crazy. He held her and he cried. "You should have told me," he whispered. "I would have been there with you." "I know," she said, "but this was something I had to face alone." Chidera lived past 28, then 29, then 30, and when she turned 31, she threw a party so big that the whole of Surulere came out. Her mother danced that night like a young girl, her limp forgotten,